You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock. That means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we are tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom this afternoon. And joining us for today's Top 4 at 4, Fox 35 News anchor LuAnne Sorrell. And LuAnne, thanks for being here.
Good to be here. Hi, Garrett.
So we want to start with families of the 2 victims killed in the Halloween night shooting in downtown Orlando, saying today they are going to sue the city of Orlando.
Yeah, people remember that shooting. The horrific shooting happened Halloween of last year. 10 people were hurt, 7 were injured, 1 was trampled, and 2 men were killed. They included 19-year-old Timothy Schmidt Jr. and 25-year-old Tariq Hill. Well, both of their families and attorneys held a news conference today saying they plan to sue the city of Orlando, Orlando police, and the event organizers, saying there should have been more security, and they don't even know if proper permits were pulled for this event. But the suspect, Jalen Edgar, who is only 17, still remains in jail, and he's charged with murder in this case of the 2 deadly shootings.
Now, one of the things I remember, and this was a question that was asked today at that news conference, in the aftermath of the shooting, city officials had talked about how because of state law changes, they weren't really able to, have metal detectors and do screenings and things like that they had kind of done at events like these before.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about 75,000 people that were estimated to be downtown that night.
It was packed. And for people who have lived in Central Florida for a while, you remember they put in metal detectors in downtown Orlando after a series of shootings. Well, then the state law passed where you can carry a weapon without a permit. All you need is a driver's license. Well, then the city of Orlando removed those because they're like, well, you're not doing anything wrong if you're coming downtown with a gun. So they had to get rid of those metal detectors. So yeah, that all plays into how this teenager possibly was able to bring a gun downtown.
And that the attorney Michael Haggard said that if that may be the case, but if you can't have an event like this safely, then don't do it. Here's what he said about it.
With regard to gun safety, there's no question about it. But the city of Orlando knows that. The police department knows that. The entertainment district knows that. And I feel bad in some sense for some businesses because their government has abandoned them. They've darn sure abandoned these families. There's no question about it. So businesses have to step up in the environment they're in. Or you can make the choice and say to your state government, we're not going to have a lot of tax revenue because we can't hold these events. They cannot, if they've determined they can't be safe, then you can't have them. And so do I agree? If I was writing the laws, I would change them severely in the state of Florida, not to mention the United States. But what we tell businesses all the time in these type cases is, you live in the United States of America. You know the ground rules, and they are not good. This doesn't happen in any other country in the world. And that's just a plain fact. It happens here. The epidemic of gun violence is unique to the red, white, and blue. Our laws in the state of Florida are awful with regard to...
And, that was the attorney talking about that very thing, saying, yes, you heard him say that the state laws he believes are awful about it, but everyone knows that. Everyone knows there's a possibility for that. And so they want, they said more needed to be done. There needed to be more done to prevent something like this from happening.
Yeah. Well, he's an attorney. He's going to look to point fingers. He's going to look to have someone, pay up to these poor families who deserve answers in all of this. But yeah, it's hard to say it's the local, entity's fault when the law goes up to the state. So maybe they should look into suing state agencies that pass these laws as well.
And you mentioned the family members. We did hear from the mother of Tariq Hill, the father of Timothy Schmidt Jr. This is the first time we had heard from Timothy Schmidt Senior speaking there today, and I know we'll have more on that coming up on Fox 35 News at 5.
Yep.
We also heard from Attorney General James Othmeyer today, who was in Lake County announcing a life sentence for an illegal immigrant who was convicted of sex trafficking.
Yeah, this is an interesting case. Apparently, this all stems from a case back in 2024 in Eustis, where a minor says she was at a gas station, met a man, went back to the man's house. He gave her some water. She started feeling funny, and then he allegedly raped her. Well, now they found out it was an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who basically overstayed his work visa. It had expired 4 years previously. So yeah, this man was sentenced to life in prison for that incident. And I think this really, because the state attorney was there, the attorney general, this is why they're saying we're going to be tough on illegal immigrants. And here's a case. This guy committed a crime, got life in prison. It seems like they're using him as kind of an example of why you shouldn't be in the state if you're undocumented.
Yeah, that's exactly the point that the Attorney General made in this, the perfect lead into the soundbite, where that's what the Attorney General says. Take a listen.
Understand it. An illegal alien raped and trafficked a little girl. These aren't just stories, these are tragedies. These are horrific, grotesque events that keep happening. And they're happening because of the open border policies that were in existence. This monster should not have been in this country. He should not have been here. This crime should not have occurred. This victim should not have had to go through this terrible tragedy. Now, we're detaining and deporting across the state, but as the state attorney said, this guy's not going anywhere. He's going to stay right here. We're going to know where he is. He will be behind bars for the rest of his life, and that prison cell will be far too nice a place for this individual.
So strong words, exactly, making that point, like you said, kind of using that as an example. Story number 3 here today, and it's an update in a high-profile shooting out of Melbourne.
Yeah, very interesting update. Surveillance video playing a key role in this case today. So to bring you back to May 11th, a college football player was home on summer break. 19-year-old Nathaniel Jennings was shot and killed in downtown Melbourne. And the suspect in this case, Stephen DeJuiced, claimed he shot the victim in self-defense, so he was only charged with manslaughter. Well, today, deputies came out and said, no, we actually have surveillance video from outside of a business that shows the suspect shooting the victim in the back while the victim was running away. So the charges against DeJuiced have now been upgraded to second-degree murder.
You see the cameras around there. This was not in a, this was in an open area where you had to think, nowadays, there are cameras everywhere.
Yes.
So not surprised that there are cameras.
It took them a little time to track it down, but yeah, they found the video and they said the suspect's story just does not add up when they looked at that video.
Story number 4 here, and give you a live look at the Kia Center, where I believe the team shop is open today with some new gear.
Absolutely exciting. If you're an Orlando Magic fan, you know the pinstripes and stars. That's old school Shaq and Penny. There we go. The team is rebranding itself, doing a little throwback this year to the pinstripes and stars. On the Orlando Magic's Twitter page, it actually has the new young guys reacting. They're opening their lockers and they're seeing the new rebrand of the Orlando Magic, and they get really excited. Even they know, oh my gosh, it's like Shaq days. So my husband is a big Orlando Magic fan. He's going to be so excited about this. He still has the old school gear.
Nice.
So maybe he can just, break that out of the closet. Derek, you don't need to buy anything new. You already have pinstripes and stars. But yeah, this is kind of fun to see the younger kids, I call them kids, the younger players in the old school vintage Magic gear.
Yeah, what's old is new again.
Yeah.
It's a neat little spin on it. I love the look of the jerseys as well. The pinstripes, it's just such a nice look. I think it's so cool. It's timeless.
The best look ever.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. We had Brandon Kravitz on Florida Live this afternoon. We were talking a little bit about the new look as well. And the question, I think, was why now? Why is now a good time to do it? And he said, really, it's kind of announcing the new generation here of Magic basketball. Take a listen.
Whenever teams feel like they're turning over a new leaf, they like their threads to also tell that same story. So I think the timing of it is Paolo and Franz specifically coming into their own as superstars, all-star level players in this league, and really making this their brand, their team. And I would not be surprised if they had some sort of say in the way that these jerseys looked. I think it very much is about the stars on the team, and that being the next era of Magic basketball. If you look at all of the changes they've made over the years, every time they've made a change stylistically, it's come with a different star. Shaq and Penny started with the original to what this retro look is, and then you went to Tracy McGrady, had a completely different jersey. Then Dwight Howard, they went through a rebrand when Dwight Howard was the star of the team, and now they're doing it again with Paolo and Franz. I'm thinking that has a lot to do with it.
So now is the time.
Yes.
Let's start some several years of success and see where things go with the new look and
Yeah,
and
I do
channel
like that they're bringing it back to when the team was just a great team. When Shaq and Penny were here, they were dominant. So maybe that's what's to come for this new younger group, right? I hope so.
Let's hope.
That would be great.
Yeah, I definitely like the look, though. That is today's Top 4 for LuAnne. We appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure.
We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren joins me now. And Noah, right on cue, we are hearing those raindrops, quite a few of them hitting our roof here.
It's not raining everywhere, but where it is, it's pretty gusty and dreary out there. Here's the view I'll start you with from Daytona Beach, and we cleared off everybody from the beach pretty quickly. There was a nasty-looking shelf cloud that came over Volusia County about 10 minutes ago, and you can see the live camera now. It's just pelting rain in Daytona Beach, and if you look on the bottom of that camera, there's the lifeguard stand. There's a flag down there. It's a little bit calmer now, but it was really whipping and blowing about a minute or two ago. It was probably about a 40-mile-an-hour gust in Daytona Beach, and not exactly great beach weather right now. And this will be the case again for tomorrow with these scattered showers, downpours, and storms. You see a sustained wind of 22 miles an hour, so certainly there probably was a gust in Daytona of 35 or 40 miles an hour. From Titusville, you could see the clouds and the wet weather and the wet pavement in those showers out there, and that'll continue. Temperatures today only got to 85 in Orlando, which was the forecast. 89 in Tampa, 82 in Ocala, 78 in Miami, and 83 in Melbourne. Zoomed in closer to home, just 84 today in St. Cloud, but as expected, the Gainesville area got close to 90, where there was a little bit more sunshine earlier today. Right now, it's just 72 in Miami. That's pretty cool for June. You could tell how many clouds and showers are out there with a temperature of 72. And right now across Central Florida, you can see where the rain has been. Where the rain has been and currently is, the temperatures are lower, meaning New Smyrna and Daytona, it's in the 70s. Ocala, it's only 73, but you go to DeLand, that hasn't rained yet, it's at 85. So clearly a difference based on where the showers have been. Tonight, mostly cloudy, passing showers off and on. Is it going to rain the whole evening in any one given spot? No. But there'll be a chance of showers scattered, passing on through, lasting for a few minutes, then moving on in any given spot through the evening. The rain chance does not end early this evening. We're near the low 70s tonight for temperatures. Now going into tomorrow, we're talking about highs only low 80s. In Garrett, this is actually way below average for the time of year. Normally the average high is closer to 90. At this point in the year. And we're talking just 82 tomorrow in Sanford, 83 in DeLand, 83 in Winter Haven, 83 in the Villages, 84 in Ocala. So those temperatures coming down, rain chances go up. I think tomorrow, Garrett, have a higher rain chance than today. Again, low 70s tonight. But let me back up and show you those cameras again here, because I want to check in and see how the cameras look, because this is a view you'll see a lot tonight. So if you have evening plans, definitely pack an umbrella. You can see that shower is already starting to let up a little bit in Daytona Beach, but it was really raining and whipping pretty good there when that thunder shower came in.
Yeah, coming down pretty strong. Something we have to certainly watch out for this time of year especially.
Yeah, and you know, the rain chance, Garrett, is really only today, tomorrow. I think Thursday into the weekend, the rain chances are going to come down a little bit, not zero.
Great.
But if you have weekend plans, things are looking better. We are in the rainy season now, so there will be a chance of rain daily. But compared to today and tomorrow, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a little bit sunnier, a little bit hotter, back probably in the low to mid-90s. So there is a notable change coming for the weekend compared to today and tomorrow.
All right, so things looking up for those weekend plans then. That's good news at least. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
We are going to take a break, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. This is a live look right now inside the State Board of Governors meeting. That was a quick look at Dr. Santaono, the president-elect at the University of Florida. He's been approved by the university's Board of Trustees, but still has to be confirmed by the State Board of Governors. Been a lot of controversy about his tenure at the University of Michigan, particularly his embrace of DEI policies at one point there that he says he ended up kind of walking away from after realizing that they had gone too far. But there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of questions about that. We know that Congressman Byron Donalds, who of course is running for governor, Senator Rick Scott, they've said they've outlined a number of concerns they have with Dr. Ono here. And so he's been grilled really for several hours. His meeting started around 1 o'clock. It was around 1:30 that he kind of began speaking and was able to speak for a few minutes, and then had been we heard from some other folks as well, and then he's been asked a number of questions this afternoon. This meeting still going on, this confirmation process. So let's go ahead and listen in for a few minutes live. This Board of Governors meeting actually right here in Orlando.
Yeah. Because that's the question people are asking, not just, hey, do we take care of some disadvantaged people and give a little bit of a help to somebody? What does white influence power dynamics that we need to rid ourselves of?
It's not something that I personally believe. The task force put it forward. I'm not an expert in that area, once again.
But that's your video.
No, I understand.
Looks enthusiastic. But by the way, another great thing I heard about you I spoke to parents at Michigan. I spoke to 2 professors there over the last 2 weeks. I called my own fraternity and talked to one of the alumni. I spoke to somebody who's very active as a doctor in your hospital there. One of the good things they said is that you are great about coming forward, giving speeches, going to football games, being transparent, and I did get that. You created this history center in one of your videos dedicated to inclusive history. And reinterpreting history, and I'm not using exact words as we now know it and not whitewashing it. What did you mean by that history center?
So let me be really clear. I didn't create the history center. It was planned before I arrived at the University of Michigan. The leader of it is somebody called Earl Lewis. He used to be the president of the Mellon Foundation, and he was at Emory University, so I know him. I think there are aims of the Inclusive History Project that I think would be fine at the University of Florida, like the Hamilton Center. A lot of it has to do with analysis of Western civilization. It includes that history in the context of the overall understanding of history globally. And so there are a lot of aspects of the Inclusive History Project that I think are fine. I think there are aspects of the Inclusive History Project that wouldn't be fine at University of Florida, and I wouldn't support them. For example, there's an aspect that looks at systemic racism. There's an aspect that looks at reparations and things like that. And I can say categorically that that's something that I would not support at the University of Florida because of the laws of the state. And as I said, I would commit to supporting those.
I had a prominent state senator say that it sounded Orwellian.
Can't say the other thing is that the Inclusive History Project, I'm sure they would say so, is fiercely independent of the president of the university. What we did was to provide financial support, but it's not really something I created.
Governor Good, can we bring it in for a landing soon, my friend?
You also said that racism is one of America's original sins. I loved, by the way, some of your talks on being a Christian and how you came to Christianity, and I found them very moving, by the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't move to religion here, but you started it. Original sin in Christianity, as we know, and there's various different writers on that since 200 or 300 AD, is sin that we're born with, that we were actually, before that, we were conceived in, that is in Christian theology cannot be humanly escaped in any way except through a total rebirth, a total uprooting with divine intervention. Do I get the Christian part right? In fact, this is C.S. Lewis, one of your Anglicans.
You have it better than I did. You got it better than I did.
So if racism is America's original sin, and those are your words, I mean, what does that mean?
I would say that I regret the use of those words at that time. I don't remember exactly when I said it, but I should have been more precise.
It's 2023.
Yeah, so I think I should have been much more careful about my use of words. I hear where you're coming from.
So the word racism as original sin comes in part from the 1619 Project by Jada Alicia's Are You a Racist? And a few of these other CRT books. You're kind of denouncing a lot of the things that you said, or how do you think, and I've talked to some of the progressives on University of Michigan campus.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you tell them that you no longer believe all those things that you said a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago?
Exactly the way I have said to you, is that I have, through experience, watched what I think had the original intentions were good, and that I have seen the negative consequences, and I have been inspired by what's happened in Florida. And much like the New York Times article talked about the experiences of faculty and students on campus and how they didn't feel included, they felt it was actually creating division in the community, I've taken all that into account.
Good answer. I only have two more quick questions. Two more quick topics. Gender, again, you've answered that. Thank you. Do you have have you had, since you've been either at BC or at Michigan, boys competing in girls sports?
I don't think that's appropriate.
But have they done it?
I don't think there are any at Michigan. I talked to the athletic director, and I don't know of any at U.
Do you know if either BCU or have cut off minor boys' genitals or girls' breasts?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Do you know if University of Michigan Medical School, or any of your programs have in those programs, those gender affirming programs, have they cut off cut off, not once or twice, but ever?
I'm not really qualified to be able to say it.
Well, you're a physician.
I'm a scientist.
Okay, you're a scientist. Biological scientist.
But also, frankly, I don't have a complete encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's happened.
So you wouldn't deny or say either way whether that's happened in Michigan's medical programs?
I don't want to misspeak unless I really know that what I'm saying is correct. Yeah.
Now, the last issue is COVID. In February, and these are a list of questions, and by the way, several politicians have put them up on Facebook. You can read them. I just wrote some down. At the time of COVID, in 2023, you mandated vaccine boosters to all on-campus dormitory students. You're an immunologist. Now, this one you can't. You're an immunologist.
I am.
Keep going back to I'm an immunologist.
I am.
So, how do you feel about that decision? And 2023 was. We all think of COVID in Florida. And it's funny because we think of COVID from like March of 2020 to like July of 2020.
Sure.
So what do you think about that mandate?
So I have had at Michigan a chief health officer and an actual committee who are much more qualified than I, because they're actually doctors. I'm a scientist. And so they made the recommendation to me to do that. So that's the answer to your question.
But wouldn't an immunologist know better than a MD?
No, immunologist. Okay. I'm a mouse doctor. My thesis was trying to figure out why, in my case, rats, but why mice actually get diabetes, and we found the genes that are responsible for that. So you don't want to see me if you have a medical problem. I'm a test tube kind of guy, to be frank. So no, I would not know better than a medical doctor or a public health expert as well.
So based on what you know now.
More questions for Dr. Ono as the State Board of Governors considers his whether to confirm him as president at the University of Florida. As I said before, this has been going on for a while. We will continue to monitor this and see what happens. They are expected to vote today. We will see when that may happen. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. A women's center in Melbourne vandalized. Fox 35's Esther Bauer joins us live now via Zoom. And Esther, how bad was the damage?
Oh my gosh, the damage hit almost every single room in the Sorrell Road locations for the women's center. Vandalism everywhere, paint on the walls, permanent marker with just awful words and pictures everywhere. Computer monitors broken. We saw a room where someone had taken a chair and smashed it into the wall. It's still up there right now. So really, doors kicked in that were locked. A ton of damage for this nonprofit that has been serving Brevard County for about 50 years. They 3,000 people every year. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, domestic violence, they have resources, support, counseling, therapy, really anything that people could need at this women's center. And they said in 50 years, they've never been targeted like this. So it's really a big hit for this nonprofit. Good news is they are a resilient organization. So they're still serving people in need as we speak, but they're also asking for help. They need help with volunteers to clean up, to rebuild, just to get this location back on track. There are several of these centers scattered throughout Brevard County. This affected the south location in Melbourne. The Titusville location is still open and they're still seeing people, but really there's, they've been ones to help for all these years and now they are asking for help. The bad news is kind of the scary part is whoever did this is still out there. At this time, Melbourne Police and the Women's Center don't really have any leads. We know there were some cameras on property. Unfortunately, they didn't pick up anything. They don't know, who this person or these people are, how they got in. They've obviously submitted all their findings to the Melbourne Police Department. But as far as any leads moving forward on who could have done that, they really aren't sure. And they are still kind of going through room by room, opening up door by door, and they're still kind of taking into account all the stuff that has been broken, stolen, or just ruined.
Esther, does the organization have any thought or any idea why they may have been targeted here?
So one thought was maybe it was just teams or someone that, saw this building and thought, I'm going to break in and, see what I can do. They're really hoping it wasn't targeted towards any of the victims that they help. As we said, they're helping survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. So what they did feel is whoever was responsible was very mad, whether they were mad just to be mad or whether they were mad to target someone, target their organization. They're really hoping that that wasn't the case, but at this point, they're just not totally sure. They don't have any leads, but they did say this isn't going to stop them from serving. They say they tried to teach their clients to overcome, and that's what they're going to do in this situation. They've started a fundraising platform online. They've raised about $5,000, but their goal is $50,000 because they were also in the middle of a significant plumbing and electrical overhaul within this building. So this really came at the worst time. They already were getting work done. Now they have to find new funds to get additional work done.
Oh my gosh, yeah, never a good time to walk in on something like that, but especially when they have those other things going on. So I know you mentioned it before, but what's next for them?
Yeah, so they're just going to keep serving as they can. They've kind of shuffled services into another location on Sorrell Road. Their phone line is still active. Their Titusville location is still active. So they will continue operating as normal, but they're going to be helping Melbourne, detectives try to find whoever is responsible. They are hoping justice can be served. And they're asking if you have a business where you could give office supplies, because a lot of theirs are just broken. If you could volunteer to help with cleanup, a lot of permanent marker, a lot of paint, a lot of stuff they have to just, take off the walls, that would help. And then if you can help by just sharing the online fundraiser or donating, anything will just help them get back on their feet. But we will keep you updated, and we checked in with MPD to see if they have any leads on who could have possibly done this.
All right. Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus, and look forward to seeing your story coming up on Fox 35 News.
Absolutely. We'll talk with you soon.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Of the University of Florida.
Second by Dunn.
I hear a motion.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to get you back inside this Board of Governors meeting because they just called a motion, heard a motion rather, to ratify the
discussion. It's been moved and properly second. If there's no further discussion.
Sorry, just listening in there, to ratify Dr. Ono as the president as the University of Florida. There is still the possibility of a little bit of discussion here ahead of a vote, but let's go ahead and listen in and see what's going to happen.
Is there any discussion?
I've asked 3 times, are there discussion?
Okay.
Okay, 3 times, are there discussion?
Okay.
Okay, you guys cut it out.
I thought I saw
right?
somebody's
You're
hand.
being ridiculous.
Okay. We're now going to move into the vote, roll call vote portion. Chair Lamb,
In favor? Aye.
Governor Levine,
No.
Aye.
Governor Bell Barnett,
No.
Governor Serio,
No.
Governor Dale,
Aye.
Governor Diaz,
No.
Governor Dunn,
Aye.
Governor Edge,
No.
Governor Frost,
No.
Governor Good,
I really, really want to try to get to a yes, but this philosophical difference is just too far, and to not know whether you cut off boys' genitals or understand the critical race theory, I can't get with your hearts in it, but I'm wish you the very best, and will support you if you win.
that's a no vote, Governor Good. No vote.
Is it a no vote? Okay.
Governor Haddock,
Yes.
Governor Jones,
No.
Governor Lydecker,
Yes.
Governor Mateer, Governor Mateer, Governor Oliva,
No.
Governor Renner,
No.
Governor Szilagyi.
Yes.
The motion fails.
Serio, did you vote? Did you vote? Okay. Okay. All right, the motion fails. First time that's really happened, so let me just react to that. I thank everyone for their feedback and their comments and participation in the meeting. Dr. Ono, of course, Chair Hosseini, thank you for your discussion. That was the only agenda item. Rachel, is there any other item?
The consent agenda. We can
knock out the consent agenda. Okay. In your package, you have the consent agenda. Is there any other questions or comments on the consent? If not, I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Second. Governor Oliva. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Well, you just watched some history there live on Fox 35 News Plus as the State Board of Governors did not confirm the University of Florida president-elect. You may remember it was just maybe last week, I don't remember exactly, that the University of Florida Board of Trustees voted unanimously to approve the hiring of Dr. Santa Ono. Despite some of the concerns over DEI and some of those same questions that we heard asked today by the State Board of Governors, his answers seemed to be satisfactory for the Board of Trustees at the University of Florida. They approved his hiring again unanimously, but then today the Board of Governors rejecting that. The motion was to ratify his hiring. Let me do a quick tally here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 votes in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 votes against. So by a 9-7 vote, he was rejected as his hiring was rejected by the State Board of Governors. Now, obviously, this comes after a number of those in the Republican Party, including Congressman Byron Donalds, Senator Rick Scott. We've seen a lot of attention brought on social media by Donald Trump Jr., even to some of the concerns and some past things said by Dr. Ono, specifically when it comes to DEI. You heard some of the governors on that board just a minute ago outlining some of their concerns. We heard it during the questions that we brought you earlier today, not just here on Fox 35 News Plus, but earlier today on Florida Live, because as I said, this has been going on for hours, and he has been questioned here this afternoon ahead of that vote, which failed. But again, many had brought up concerns. It's also interesting to note that Governor DeSantis has been fairly quiet about this. He's been obviously asked about it. He's basically deferred to the Board of Governors, the Board of Trustees, the officials, saying that if they believe he has put the DEI questions behind him, then he will, kind of trust their decision on that. So it's going to be interesting to see as reaction comes in from this. We should also note that he was the only finalist in this search. So not only was his hiring approved unanimously by the UF Board of Trustees, but he was the sole finalist who was announced during this process as well. So going to be interesting to see where things go from here. As you heard from the chair of the Board of Governors, this isn't something that he has dealt with before, and so questions now over what's next. And for the University of Florida, we will have to wait and see. Well, we are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Big news today for Disney as they announced some new frontiers to cross at Magic Kingdom. And we're talking about the new Cars-themed land and our look at some new concept art for what that's going to look like, what all it entails as they work to expand Magic Kingdom. So they provided their first look of what they're calling Piston Peak National Park. And we also got the closing dates today for Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and the Liberty Square Riverboat, which we know, as we have reported before, would be going away to make room for this Cars land. But if you're disappointed by those things leaving, you may be encouraged by the look of some of the new concept art. Earlier today, we talked about this. It's all part of the largest expansion in the history of Magic Kingdom. Talked about it with Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info, and Drew Smith, Drew the Disney Dude.
Yeah, this is looking really, really fun. I'm really excited to see this new concept art. We've already had some of these colorful images that you're showing up on screen, but now that they've got this map, I feel like it really kind of shows what Imagineering has been trying to do. I feel like it might have gotten lost in original concept art, and now almost having this cartoonized version lets us see what they've been wanting to show us. I see waterways, I see waterfalls, I see geysers, and they've already said there's going to be walking trails and 2 attractions. It looks very cartoony, but not too cartoony. Like they're trying to find this fine level between the Cars world and the real world. Disney already stated that this isn't based off a specific national park, but it is going to have a national park feel, and it kind of looks like Wilderness Lodge as well. I think it looks very, very cool.
Drew, let me get your thoughts, and also how this kind of fits in to the worlds around it in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I fully agree with Theron, and I will say in full transparency, me personally, I think a lot of people know that I'm a massive fan of Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America. But with that being said, credit where credit is due, and obviously the jury is still out because this project doesn't physically exist yet. But this new concept art we got today, like Theron said, this looks a lot better than what we had before last August when this project was first announced. The fact that the first thing that we're going to see when we walk into this area from the hub of Magic Kingdom through Liberty Square is a massive waterfall, which is going to be sitting in the exact spot of where the Liberty Bell actually docks now, I think is phenomenal. The staging of that is going to be incredible. And that kind of leans into what you just asked me, actually. How does this fit into Magic Kingdom? Well, Disney today confirmed that Imagineering is putting a ton of time, effort, and money into the staging of this area and to make sure that these areas flow together so that, for example, if you're waiting in line for the Haunted Mansion, while you're not going to be looking at rockwork and car engines whizzing by, they're going to be forming these areas with all the trees, the rockwork, the staging, the storytelling to make sure that you're not hearing cars whizzing around, or when you're watching Country Bear Jamboree, you're not necessarily looking into Villains Land. Everything is being meticulously planned. And for me personally, I'm very optimistic for that reason alone.
Theron, Drew was talking about the incorporation of the water features there, and that really isn't something that we could see in that original concept art. Do you think this was the plan all along, or do you think this may have been a reaction to some of the response to getting rid of Rivers of America and some of those other things?
I think it might be 50-50. While I do think they originally had plans for water, I definitely think there was going to be an idea for a stream and stuff like that. And in some of that initial concept art, we can actually see the vehicles themselves going through water. That being said, every single time concept art has now come up about this land, it has shown more and more water. Fans were very adamant about being upset about losing the Rivers of America. That is the #1 water feature at the park. It's huge. It's been a part of there since the park initially opened in 1971. So I don't know that this necessarily wasn't the plan the whole time, but at least wasn't portrayed like this the entire time. And now I think that Disney's definitely trying to make it obvious, hey, we're going to have water. And it's not just even the water they initially showed. I love seeing that they're expanding the geysers from Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. So it looks like in every aspect, they're really trying to combine all the different sections of Frontierland, Liberty Square, all of that into one succinct area. And like Drew was saying, it looks like they're trying to make the storyline all together as well. I mean, that's a lot. If you look at the concept art, we've got mountains, we've got geysers, we've kind of got multiple different sections of the American frontier, and they're squeezing it into one area. So I'm interested to see how that's all going to flow, but they did specifically mention that they are working heavily on that.
And we do know now as well when the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and the Liberty Square Riverboat are going to close.
Yeah, that's going to be happening. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah. So no, sorry. That's the funny thing about these dual interviews. We both have the same thoughts. But yeah, the final day is July 6th, which is coming up here in just about a month. So as of the morning of July 7th, you'll never be able to go on the Liberty Bell Riverboat again or Tom Sawyer Island. And I think it's cool that Theron had these pictures of what it kind of looks like whenever it was going into this refurbishment a few years ago, because that's what we're going to be seeing here very soon. But yeah, you've got just over a month to experience these areas, and it's going to take a lot of time for Disney to get this project into motion because you have all the staging backstage with these gravel laydown yards, which are going to support this area. And then you actually have to fill in the river and then start that new construction from the ground up.
Yeah, going to be a pretty big transformation because this is all part of the largest expansion in the history of Magic Kingdom, Theron.
Yeah, that's not just this section here. They're also going to be working on the Villains Land, and Disney announced that they're going to be having the train that goes around Magic Kingdom. It's actually going to be a little bit different. It's not going to go to the station in Frontierland now for a limited time while they're working on this. They haven't given an exact amount of time for that or what exactly is going to be happening, but they are going to be modifying the Walt Disney World Railroad for a limited time while this work is going. So it's not just Cars Land, it's also Villains Land. They're doing a lot over there. And one thing I can hope we can go back to years from now in this interview, Drew said we'll never grow on the Liberty Bell again. I kind of hope that you're incorrect there. I hope we get a surprise and they instead decide they're going to move it to a hotel or we'll see something else with it. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? But I just hope we can go back and be like, you know what? The Liberty Bell was not at the Magic Kingdom, but it did show up somewhere else. We'll have to see for that, though.
All right, good stuff. With all of this, I want to ask both of you what you're most looking forward to with some of these changes that are coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, the biggest thing that I've taken away from this is that Disney is putting a ton of time, money, and effort into making this exclusive for Magic Kingdom. I think in recent years, there's been a ton of feedback with Disney cloning attractions like Tron Light Cycle Run. It was in Shanghai originally, and then it came over here to Magic Kingdom. You know, with this, you know, you already have Cars Land over at Disney California Adventure at the Disneyland Resort. They could have easily taken a lot of those animatronics and characteristics from those rides out there and brought them here, but they said, no, we are going to do an 100% original land with all new original storytelling. And even today, we got confirmation of a new character, Ranger J. Audubon Woodlore. That's the car that you guys are seeing on screen right now. This is an all-new character that you're going to see in the pre-show for this Cars Rally Race ride, and is actually directly inspired from a character that there was in some of the Disney short films back in the 1950s. So when there's this much level of effort going into making this original for the world's most visited theme park, that's why I remain optimistic on top of this concept art looking much, much better.
And Darren, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Drew there. It does look like they are putting a ton of effort into this, which, look, to be honest, they have to. It is the most visited theme park in the entire world. If you mess up severely inside of this park, it's going to be noticed not just by superfans, but by everybody. So I do feel confident they're going to do a lot of work on this. One of the things I was most excited about is they did confirm that there's going to be walking trails. I personally love that. I think that's something that people loved inside of Tom Sawyer Island, is that you could just kind of walk around and enjoy the space. So if we are losing Tom Sawyer Island, to see that we're still going to get some trails. They already have it over at Animal Kingdom to go around the Tree of Life, and people love that. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the park. So if you're telling me that I can go on a simulated national park walking trail inside of the Magic Kingdom with a new Cars ride and all these great landscapes, to me, that gets me really, really excited. I'm interested to see how those trails are going to work out.
It's certainly going to be interesting to watch. We will be able to see how construction is going. Obviously, probably won't see much once those walls go up, but certainly some ways to keep tabs on that work. Going to be a long process, but it's certainly exciting to see some of that concept art. What do you think about it? Let us know if you are watching with us here on YouTube. Drop it in the chat. Let us know what you think about seeing some of that. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus this afternoon. Been a busy day of news here. Was streamed for a couple of hours earlier today for Fox 35 News Plus at 11. We had our normal 2 o'clock show, and then been with you here from 4 to 5 as well as we get ready to hand things off to Fox 35 News at 5. We are here every day, weekdays rather, 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. with Fox 35 News Plus and with Florida Live. So we hope you join us as well. Cover a lot of ground, and that tomorrow will be no different. I will go ahead and send things out to Studio B here, where John and LuAnne are getting ready for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. Our floor director Rodney there as well, making sure everything is ready to go ahead of the newscast, which begins in about a minute right here. We are following up on a number of stories that we've been following throughout the day. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth going to have the latest on this lawsuit being filed by those family members of the victims from the Halloween night mass shooting in downtown Orlando. She was at that news conference. She's following up on that. We also have a lot more. So keep it right here for more news and weather coming up in just moments right here on Fox Local. Have a great evening. We will see you back here at 11 a.m. with more Fox 35 News Plus.
Fox 35 News starts now with breaking news.
Hands up. A search for drugs turns deadly. This is brand new body camera video from Orange County deputies inside a home during a SWAT raid. Deputies claim the man reached for a rifle behind the door. Thanks for joining us. I'm LuAnne Sorrell.
And I'm John Brown. The man's family demanded to see the body cam over the weekend, and Fox 35's Chancellor Wynn is live at the sheriff's office. So, Chancellor, walk us through the video today.
Well,